The road to Neelmani village was narrow and broken, covered with dust and silence. The trees that lined the path stood tall and lifeless, like guards who had forgotten how to breathe. It was evening, and the sun was dipping into the horizon, spilling red light over the paddy fields. A crow pawed somewhere far away, and the sound echoed like a warning. Rahul Dutta, a 32-year-old documentary filmmaker from Kolkata, was driving his old Jeep through the village road. His destination, the Neelmani house, an ancient mansion that had been abandoned for more than 70 years. Locals called it Chup Gramer Bari, the silent house. They said no one who entered it after dark ever came back. Rahul wasn't a believer in ghosts. He was making a documentary on Bengal's forgotten heritage sites, and Neelmani House was his next subject. He had heard rumors about strange cries, lights flickering in empty rooms, and an old woman who still sang inside the mansion at night. But to him, that was only folklore, until now. As Rahul entered the village, people turned away from him. An old man sitting beside a tea stall looked up and muttered, "City people never listen. That house doesn't like visitors." Rahul smiled politely and drove on. The mansion stood at the far end of the village, surrounded by overgrown bamboo and dead banyan roots. The iron gate was rusted, twisted by time. He pushed it open, and it groaned like a wounded animal. The house loomed above him, 3 stories high, its windows like dark, empty eyes. Ivy crept along its walls, and the smell of decay filled the air. Rahul raised his camera and whispered, "Perfect." Inside, dust floated like mist. The floorboards creaked beneath his steps. Portraits of unknown faces hung crooked on the walls. A half-burned lantern still sat on a wooden table, as if someone had left it there last night. In the center of the hall stood a grand staircase leading upward into darkness. Rahul set up his tripod and started filming. "This is the Neelmani mansion," he narrated softly, his voice echoing faintly. Built in 1856 by Zamindar Haranath Neelmani, the house was abandoned after a mysterious tragedy that wiped out the entire family in one night. As he spoke, a gust of wind slammed a door upstairs. Rahul froze. His camera light flickered for a second and then steadied again. "Old wood," he muttered, "nothing more." But the door creaked open slowly on its own, and faint footsteps followed. He turned his flashlight toward the staircase. For a split second, he saw something at the top, a white shadow standing still, watching him. His heart skipped a beat. The light flickered again, and the figure was gone. "Probably imagination," he whispered to himself, though his hand was trembling. He decided to explore the upper floor. As he climbed, the smell of old incense and something metallic filled the air. The corridor was narrow and lined with locked rooms. At the end stood a huge mirror, cracked across the center. Rahul lifted his camera, adjusting the focus. Through the viewfinder, he saw movement, a reflection of someone standing behind him. He spun around. No one was there. The corridor was empty. When he looked back into the mirror, the reflection still showed a woman, her face blurred, her hair covering her eyes. Slowly, the mirror began to fog up from inside, and a handprint appeared. Long, thin fingers pressing against the glass. Rahul stepped back, his breath quick. Suddenly, a voice whispered behind him, soft, female, broken. "Why did you come back?" The camera fell from his hand. He turned, but the corridor was empty again. His heart pounded against his ribs. He picked up the camera, the screen still recording. Through the lens, he saw the mirror again. Now it was empty. But when he rewound the footage, the reflection was still there, and it was smiling. Rahul backed away, whispering, "No, this can't be real." He ran down the stairs, but as he reached the ground floor, all the doors slammed shut at once. The sound echoed through the house like thunder. The windows rattled, and somewhere a music box started playing. A lullaby. It was soft and haunting, the kind of tune a mother sings to a dead child. Rahul followed the sound, drawn like a moth to fire. The melody led him to the back of the mansion, where a well stood covered in moss. The air was colder here, unnaturally so. The music was coming from inside the well. He leaned over, shining his light down. At first, he saw only darkness, then ripples, then a face, pale, smiling, eyes open. A woman's voice rose from the depths. He promised he would come back, and now you have. Rahul stumbled backward, slipping on the wet ground. The light flickered violently. From the well came a wet, dragging sound, something climbing out. 2 hands, thin and gray, clutched the edge. Hair dripping, a figure began to rise slowly. Rahul screamed, turned, and ran toward the house, slamming the door behind him. But inside, the air was alive with whispers. Every wall seemed to breathe. The portraits wept blood. The floor rippled like water. And from the shadows, that same voice whispered again, closer now, almost tender. You shouldn't have come alone, Rahul. No one should die alone. His flashlight went out. The darkness swallowed him whole. And outside, the well was silent again, waiting. Rahul woke up on the cold marble floor, drenched in sweat and dust. His camera was lying beside him, the screen cracked but still flickering. For a moment, he couldn't remember where he was. Then it all came back. The mirror, the voice, the woman from the well. The eerie silence around him was broken only by the faint sound of dripping water echoing from somewhere deep inside the house. He looked around. The grand hall that had once seemed so empty now appeared distorted, as if the walls had moved while he was unconscious. The portraits on the wall seemed closer, their painted eyes glistening with fresh wetness, like tears. His flashlight had died, but the house was dimly lit by a strange blue glow seeping through the cracks in the ceiling. Rahul grabbed his camera, whispering shakily, "If this is real, then someone must see it." He started recording again. The camera's night mode illuminated the hallway, revealing trails of footprints, wet, leading away from the main hall toward a locked wooden door he hadn't noticed before. He followed slowly, each step creaking under his weight. The air grew thicker, colder. When he reached the door, he felt a vibration behind it, like something breathing. He hesitated, then pushed. The door opened into a long underground passage. The smell hit him first, a mix of mold, burnt incense, and something metallic. The tunnel walls were damp, covered in faded murals. As he walked, the paintings came alive under his light. Depictions of rituals, blood sacrifices, and a woman kneeling before a well. In every mural, the same face appeared, pale, veiled, eyes filled with sorrow. The inscription below read in Old Bengali, "Mokshoir dam holo pran." The price of salvation is life. Rahu's heartbeat quickened. The passage ended in a small room lit by a flickering lantern. In the middle stood a shrine, blackened with soot, and behind it a portrait of a man in regal clothes. His nameplate read, "Zamindar Harnath Neelmani." Rahul moved closer, brushing the dust from the frame. The man's eyes seemed to follow him, alive even through paint. Then behind him, a woman's voice whispered, calm, almost pleading. "He took everything from me, my child, my name, my soul." Rahul turned sharply. Standing by the entrance was a woman dressed in a torn white sari, her skin pale as moonlight, hair dripping water onto the floor. Her eyes, hollow, endless. He stepped back, unable to speak. "You shouldn't have come, Rahul," she said softly, her voice trembling between sorrow and rage. "You carry his blood." Rahul froze. "What do you mean? Who are you?" She stepped closer, and the air around her shimmered with cold. "Zamindar Harnath, your ancestor. The curse he left behind flows in you. The Neelmani blood never dies, only returns." Rahul's mind spun. He had never known much about his family's history.
But his grandfather had once mentioned a distant ancestral estate long abandoned, left behind out of shame. "You're lying," Rahul said, shaking his head. "I came here for a documentary, nothing more." The woman smiled, a broken, haunting smile. "You came because the house called you. You came to finish what he began." The walls trembled, the lanterns flickered violently. From the shadows emerged faint figures, children, servants, women, their eyes dark hollows, their bodies half transparent. They circled Rahul, whispering his name again and again, like a chant. "Rahul, Rahul Neelmani, heir of sin." He dropped to his knees, clutching his ears. The whispers grew louder, overlapping into a wail. The woman raised her hand, and the spirits froze. "He doesn't know yet," she said softly. "He hasn't remembered." Then, turning to Rahul, she whispered, "Go to the well. The truth sleeps there." Before he could react, the spirits vanished into smoke. The house fell silent once more. Rahul ran, up the corridor, through the broken hall, out into the moonlit courtyard. The well stood there, glistening in the pale light like a black mirror. The same haunting lullaby floated through the air again. He leaned over, trembling. "What truth? What do you want from me?" The water rippled, and an image appeared. Not his reflection, but a vision. He saw the zamindar, Harnath Neelmani, performing a ritual beside the same well. Bound beside him was a young woman, the same ghost he had seen. A baby cried in her arms. Harnath's eyes glowed red as he whispered incantations. Then, with a cruel smile, he pushed the woman and child into the well. The water turned crimson. Rahul screamed, "Stop!" But the vision did not fade. The ghostly woman's voice echoed. "He sacrificed us to gain eternal life, and his curse fell upon every drop of his bloodline, including you." The realization hit him like lightning. The curse was not in the house, it was inside him. The house was merely the vessel waiting for the final heir to return. Suddenly, the water in the well began to bubble violently. Something was rising again. Not the ghost, but the reflection of himself, twisted, with hollow eyes and a smile that wasn't his. The reflection whispered, "Set me free." Rahul stumbled back, his camera recording everything. The wind roared, the ground cracked open around the well. From inside, a surge of dark smoke erupted, taking the shape of 1,000 screaming faces. The woman's voice rose above them all, crying, "Break the circle, Rahul, destroy the name." He looked at the mansion. Flames flickered inside its windows, though no fire burned. The name Neelmani was carved above the main gate. Rahul grabbed a broken lantern and threw it with all his strength. The oil splashed, fire erupted, devouring the walls. The screams echoed through the night until they faded into silence. The house burned, then crumbled into ash. When dawn came, the villagers found nothing but ruins and Rahul's camera half buried in soot. The last frame it recorded showed Rahul standing before the burning mansion, eyes calm, whispering one last line before disappearing into smoke.
3 months had passed since the fire at Neelmani village. The house was gone, reduced to ash and silence. The villagers believed the curse had finally ended. They built a small shrine near the ruins, placing flowers for the souls who once suffered there. But when the night fell, no one dared to cross that road. They said even the wind refused to pass through the ashes of the mansion. Then, one day, a journalist named Ananya Roy arrived. She had seen Rahul's name in the newspaper, filmmaker missing after documenting haunted estate. The only thing recovered was his camera, and she wanted to finish his story. She worked for a paranormal documentary channel, and she was determined to find out what really happened that night. Ananya reached the silent village just before sunset. The air was heavy, thick with the smell of burnt wood and wet earth. Children peeked at her from behind bamboo fences. An old villager approached her slowly, eyes sunken and voice trembling. "You shouldn't have come here, miss. That fire, it didn't burn everything." She frowned. "What do you mean?" The old man pointed toward the ruins. "The well still stands." A chill ran through her body. She looked toward the clearing beyond the fields. True enough, the well was still there, untouched, its stone edges blackened but whole. Something about it seemed wrong, as if it were breathing. She decided to visit it at dusk. With the flashlight and Rahul's damaged camera in hand, she walked through the overgrown path. The ashes crunched beneath her boots. The remains of the house stood like bones of a dead beast, black, twisted, and silent. When she reached the well, she knelt beside it. The air was unnaturally cold. She aimed her flashlight down, but the beam barely pierced the darkness. Suddenly, Rahul's camera, hung around her neck, flickered on by itself. The screen glowed faintly, showing a live feed of her standing by the well. But behind her, in the video, someone else was standing too. Ananya spun around. No one, only darkness. Then she looked again at the camera screen. The figure was still there, closer now. A tall man, face half burned, eyes hollow. The camera crackled and a distorted voice came through the speaker. "You finished what I started, didn't you, Ananya?" Her breath caught. "Rahul?" Static filled the air. The camera screen glitched, flashing frames. Rahul filming inside the mansion, the burning walls, the collapsing floor, and then a final image of him standing in front of the fire, whispering, "The curse ends with me." But now another voice overlapped his. "It never ends, not until the well is sealed." Suddenly, the ground beneath her trembled. The well began to shake violently, dust rising from its edges. A loud, wet gurgling sound echoed from deep below. Ananya dropped the camera and stumbled back. The air turned icy, and from within the well came a faint, eerie hum, the same lullaby Rahul had heard. From the darkness, a hand emerged, blackened, thin, dripping water and ash. Then another. The figure that rose was not the woman this time. It was Rahul. His eyes were lifeless, but his lips moved slowly. "You shouldn't have come here, Ananya. She's not gone." She screamed and ran, but her flashlight flickered out. The world around her twisted. The ruins seemed alive again, the mansion standing tall, glowing with ghostly fire. She turned back toward the well, and standing beside Rahul was the woman in the white sari. Her face was no longer sorrowful. It was smiling, cruel, complete. "We waited for you," the woman whispered. "The bloodline isn't over. It continues with you." Ananya shook her head, trembling. "I'm not part of this." The woman stepped closer. "You touched his blood, held his camera, spoke his name. The curse travels through memory, through stories." The ground cracked open and the burning mansion rose behind them, rebuilt from ash, walls glowing red, windows screaming with trapped souls. The wind roared like a storm. Rahul's ghost turned to her, whispering, "Seal the well, Ananya. Burn it. End it, before she binds you too." She reached for her lighter, hand shaking. The ghostly woman screamed, a sound that shattered the air. The wind howled, pulling at her hair, tearing at her skin. Ananya threw the lighter into the well. Fire burst upward, a column of light and smoke piercing the sky. For a moment, everything froze. Then, silence. The mansion turned to dust again, the ground still, the air calm. The well had collapsed completely, sealed under burning soil. Ananya fell to her knees, breathing heavily. The camera lay beside her, melted but intact. On the cracked screen, one final image flickered. Rahul, smiling faintly. Then the screen went black. Days later, villagers found Ananya unconscious near the ruins. She survived but never spoke again.
She left the village that same night, her eyes hollow, whispering only one sentence to the police officer who helped her. He said the curse travels through stories. The officer, puzzled, took the broken camera and sent it for investigation. When the technician checked it, he found one new video file recorded after the supposed destruction. It showed an empty field, then a faint figure walking away, holding the same camera, humming a lullaby. The face was half Rahul, half Ananya. And at the bottom of the screen, the date changed itself to the present day.